Learning method. Our brains are efficient machines, and they rapidly discard information that doesn't seem useful. Chances are that you don't remember what you had for dinner on Monday, 2 weeks ago, because this information is not usually useful. If you went to a fantastic restaurant that day and spent the last 2 weeks telling people about how great it was, however, you are likely to still remember in vivid details. Use it or lose it. The brain's use it or lose it policy applies to everything we learn. If you spend an afternoon memorizing some science terms and then don't think about that material for 2 weeks, you will probably have forgotten most of it. In fact, studies show we forget about 75% of material learned within 48-hour period. This can seem pretty depressing when you need to learn a lot of information. The solution is simple, however. Review. By reviewing newly learned information, we can greatly reduce forgetting. The only problem is that traditional review was not very practical. If you are using paper flashcards, it's easy to flick through all of them if you only have 30 of them to review. But as the number grows to 300 or 3000, it quickly becomes unwieldy. Here Anki comes into play. With the help of Anki, you can actively work and review thousands of cards in a single app. While you are answering questions actively that you created or downloaded, also you score yourself for your every recall. According to your recall capability, Anki sets a time for you to show the question again. This technology behind the application forces up every tiny information in your brain and makes it nearly impossible to forget it. And now let's talk a little bit about the forgetting curve. As we explained, a new material that has been learned is forgotten as time goes by if we don't make any review actively. This can be best explained in a forgetting curve. The forgetting curve hypothesizes the decline of memory retention in time. This curve shows how information is lost over time when there is no attempt to retain it. A typical graph of forgetting curve purports to show that humans tend to halve their memory of newly learned knowledge in a matter of days or weeks unless they consciously review the learned material. The forgetting curve supports one of the 7 kinds of memory failures, transience, which is the process of forgetting that occurs with the passage of time. The first scientist that realized this concept was Hermann Ebbinghaus. As a German psychologist, Hermann tested his memory over various periods of time. Once he had gathered all the data from his spaced learning studies, he plotted it on a graph that looked a little something like in the graph. Hermann Ebbinghaus hypothesizes that the speed of forgetting depends on the number of factors such as difficulty of the learned material, like how meaningful it is, its representation, and other psychological factors such as stress and sleep. He further hypothesizes that the basal forgetting rate differs little between individuals. So, he concluded that the difference in performance can be explained by mnemonic representation skills. He went on to hypothesize that basic training in mnemonic techniques can help overcome those differences in part. He asserted that the best methods for increasing the strength of memory can be explained like this. First, better memory representation like mnemonic techniques, and second, repetition based on active recall and spaced repetition. Learning summary. As a summary, if we simplify the scientific approaches, we conclude this result if you want to learn better something. First, Visualize this new information, make an analogy, and stick to it that you have already knew. Second, ask yourself questions about this new information and try to recall it. And please make it with spaced intervals. As you make these items, forgetting curve will start to evolve to a more flattened line, and you will start to remember nearly everything that you try to learn. Like we have seen from scientific studies, however individual abilities and circumstances affect the process, learning a new material mostly depends on whether you use the right learning method or not.